Let's start. All right. So it's time of that season again. We get to learn about God, and we have a new course coming up. I hope you guys are excited about this course. What makes this course a little bit different than all the courses that we've done in the past? But we've done something different, especially like if you guys are YTC members, and if you're not, which reminds me, housekeeping, you need to keep like everybody's name and email, please, just in case we have to change location, so that you can do that. We have a paper going on. Make sure you sign and give us your email, so we'll tell you anything else. So other than that, what are we doing differently this time? Why is this course so important? There you go. Okay, say it. I'll be happy if you say it. I like that. Okay. Wow, yes, that's correct. Thank you. So what makes this different is, for those of you guys who do not know, we are also a part of a group called the YOTC, Young Orthodox Tewahedo Christians. so, and then we have English services, which we haven't done in a while. Usually we have courses independent of these like big services. We can imagine an English service, right? So we have like preachers coming in, we have mesmer, and we have like all these things that we organize, and within that we have a theme that we always pick. This time we said we're going to do something different. Instead of always getting ready for a service or an event, we said we're going to pick the theme first, and then we're going to learn about it. And when the service comes, all we'll be doing is presenting to the world how we have changed as a result of what we've learned. So it's something different. So far what we've been doing is more of a presentation, right? So like we get ready for service, and we try to teach people, hey, this is this, this is that. But this time we're changing it around. The goal is to change at the end of the course. Something about ourselves, something about our spiritual life, something about the way that we're going towards God, our attitude, about something has got to change. And that is the goal. At the end of the course, and I want you to challenge yourself, at least pick 5 things that will completely change about the way you see your spiritual life. This is a challenge for all of us to grow spiritually. So I'm so excited about this course, like I said, because this is a course that is designed specifically to challenge the growth of our spiritual life. Okay, just showing you a few things. This class, something else that's a little bit different is there's no syllabus. Why? Because nobody reads them. But if you guys are very keen on having a syllabus, I promise I'll email them to you. But I just like to save trees. And this day and age, I'm sure, like, do you guys really want syllabus? There's only one, so it's syllabus. Syllabi is multiple of them. Yes. Don't correct the other. Like other. Do you guys want or not? Like, this is not an English class, right? Sorry. Good. Do you want it? Okay. So I'll email you. A syllabus, because there's only one. So, this course was, again, the theme was selected together. We picked it together and we said we want to talk about the parable of the farmer. What we're going to do in this class is going to be very, very different in the sense of I'm not going to be talking a lot. You're welcome. Because I know you guys don't want to hear me talk the whole time. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend more time reading the Bible. We're going to spend more time like trying to figure out things. And so that's kind of like, it's going to be more in-class assignments where I stop talking and you guys have to like jot stuff down and all this stuff, and less lecture. Why? Because I've seen in the past, it doesn't matter. I could talk here an hour, but really you guys are walking away with 5 minutes of worth of information. And the point is to put like 2 minutes down, and then that really resonates with you, and then that does work, right? So the point of this class is going to be very, very different from how we've been doing it. I'm not going to be talking as much. As you've noticed, it's only 3 pages of notes. Like, this is going to be regular. Like not 7, 8 pages like we've done in the past. But there's going to be a lot of like in-class assignments, in-class exercises and stuff like that. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. Like I said, this class is about the Gospel of Matthew chapter 13, the parable of the farmer. First thing that I want everybody to do, starting from today, is bring in a hard copy of a Bible. Your phone does not count, and I'm going to tell you why. You need a Bible. So, if I'm reading the Bible, and I really get, and this is not my Bible, don't ask me what my Bible is, but if this was my Bible, so if this is my Bible, right, and I'm reading, and I read something on this area, right, like John 21 is on the left, my brain subconsciously is going to remember that John 21 is on the left side, right? So next time I'm looking for a verse, I know to look on the left side even if I don't remember the chapter. Like you would remember, like it's towards the top, on the left, your brain starts to remember these things the more and more you read it. If you're going through it on your phone, are you going to say it's near the top? You know what I mean? Like it's on your phone, you're just like flipping around. No, you need to like actually touch it. And the more senses that you have touching the book and getting to know it, the more you're going to remember what you're reading. So today, all right, like it's the first thing, so it's fine. But get in the habit of bringing in a hard Bible. I'm going to answer a typical question. What kind of Bible do we get? The Bible that you understand. Everybody has this Orthodox Study Bible. Like I said, this is not my Bible, and I don't use the Orthodox Study Bible a lot. But bring in whatever you feel comfortable with, like whatever you understand. Please do not sit here and read thy, and think you're going to get anything out of it. You're not, unless you can understand that. Right? So the point is to get a Bible that you understand, whatever version it is. When we start talking about theology, when we start talking about high-level theology and Christology and all that stuff, that's when to bring in the hard type of Bible. So then we can talk about that whenever we do have those classes. But right now, take out your phone or whatever for today. But other than that, I don't want to see your phones. And then the first assignment is to read Matthew chapter 13, verse 1 through 9 quietly. And as you read, please take notes.
You like they have to be like they have to fulfill certain guidelines. Like some people are going to be good at one thing and bad at another.
Okay.
That's going to like hinder their progress.
You're telling me the meaning of the parable, but just the hard what we read from the parable. Very good though. Yes, ma'am.
Good foundation to grow.
Good foundation to grow. So to keep it, like what do we read? Like yes, ma'am.
The seeds that fall on the ground.
Very good. The seed that fell last on the actual soil gave a lot of fruit. What else?
There were seeds that fell along the path.
There were seeds that fell along the path. So different seeds fell different places, right? How many type of places did they fall in? All 4 of them have what in common? Seed. What else? Seed falling. What else? What else? Soil. They all have soil. So here's the thing. There's a farmer. The farmer goes out. He's farming. He takes the seed and he kind of throws it, right? Like towards the field. But some of them fall on the road, like where people are walking. Some of them fall on top of the rock, but there's still soil in there. And then some of them fall in the tied in with the thorns, and the other ones fall in good soil. Only the ones with good soil are the ones who are able to produce the type of fruits that's expected. Here's the thing. Number one, we'll get into the meaning of the parable, and we're not even doing that today. Today we're just building the foundation that everybody's talking about. Before we talk about the meaning of the parable, there's a few things that we have to understand. Number one, if you read, Christ talks about farming a lot. Why do you think he does that? Okay. Yes, sir.
That's the main occupation of most people back then.
Very good. So the Israelites, you guys know where they lived? Geographically speaking?
Like in Mesopotamia?
Right. What was special about that area?
It's a desert.
Fertile soil. They actually call it the Fertile Crescent, right? So that area, are you guys with me? That area was very much like, it was wanted. You know why it was wanted? Because the soil was perfect. Oh my goodness, that area. Like when you read the Bible, if you see, there was a lot of people who wanted, like who kept going to war around that region. And the reason why they were doing that is because the soil was so good that anybody could go in there and plant seeds and it would grow. If you guys go back home, it doesn't matter where you are, there's certain areas that just won't produce fruit. So the farmer could work there all day. It's very frustrating, right? Like trying to put in whatever you're doing. And then if you guys are farmers, maybe there's some people who could talk about it. So farmers really have to work. This is a hard physical job, right? It's not easy. There's a lot of stuff to do. So now I want you guys to imagine as if like you're a farmer. You go out, you know what I'm saying? And you have all these seeds. What type of emotions will you have when you see the seeds doing what they said it was doing in the parable? So actually imagine yourself being that farmer and what kind of expectation you would have or what kind of feeling you would have towards the different type of seeds that go in there. Write it down. And why?
Are we allowed to reread the lines or without?
Yeah, you're writing an essay.
You gotta do what you see or?
Overall, so you can keep writing. And now it's all good. So, overall, how would you feel? Like, overall, like, tell me why you think it's a trick question.
I mean, it's confusing. I feel good.
You feel good?
Yeah, well, forget the words 100 times more than it's supposed to.
Exactly. So when you see the good one, you're happy. What about the other ones?
I guess
Frustrated. This is obvious, right? I mean, but I wanted you guys to really think about how that feels when you're a farmer and you're taking the seed, and yet some of them are not producing. And we're going to look at it, every single scenario in detail, right? But some of them, they even start growing, like really, really fast. You think this is surely the one. Remember the one on the rock? And where the soil was there, it says it starts growing fast, right? And suddenly it dies out. It was growing. You saw almost the fruit is almost about to come out, and suddenly it dies out. And then, of course, the disappointing one, the thorns, that grows, but you know from the beginning it's not going anywhere. Why? Because the thorns are there, and they're tied in with it. And as a farmer, and it's a lot of work to farm. When you see all that energy going, it breaks your heart. But then you see the last one. You see the 60, 100 fruits that it bears you. And you get to see, oh wow, the joy. So I want you guys to imagine, and obviously most of you guys are understanding the significance of what it means of these fruits and farming. Clearly, Christ is not interested about farming. Christ is giving them this analogy about farming or about fishing, all this stuff, because that's what they can relate with. If Jesus was here right now, he'd be talking about iPads and TVs and whatnot, because that's what we relate with, right? But obviously, there's a deep message that he wants to talk to us about. But here, he's talking about farming because they can relate. They understand how frustrating it is to keep going day after again and again and not producing any fruits. So that's why he's saying, hey, like, this is very frustrating. Let me give you an example that you may be able to understand. Now notice how the parable talks about some seeds fell on the soil. So some of them fell on soil type 1 on the footpath. Some of them fell on the rock with the soil kind of on top of the rock. Some of them fell on the thorns, and some of them fell on where they were supposed to land. Some fell everywhere. So the point is not to avoid the soil. It's going to happen. The question is, obviously the goal is to get it towards the last type of soil. And what do we need to be able to do to make sure that we are part of the soil part 4? Now this is what we're going to be talking about throughout the whole series, right? We want to be able to bear fruit. That's the whole class. What should we do to be part of the soil type 4? Now, if you're a farmer and you continue to produce more fruits and you see everybody around you producing fruits, you've got to stop and say, wait a minute, I'm doing something wrong, right? If you see the person next to you bearing so many fruits and you're right there and you're doing something, you got to stop and say, wait a minute, I'm doing something wrong, right? So then you got to seek help. Does that make sense? So we're going to do a little experiment to illustrate this point. I need a volunteer. Okay. Oh, that was fast. Yes, sir. Come. All right. Take notes in the experiment. Okay. Walk over there. Come back. Okay? Yeah, I'm coming. All right. Close your eyes. Don't look. Walk over there without looking.
I will.
We did it. Now, close your eyes again. And now we get to guide him and help him throughout this process, but we're going to really kind of mess it up here. Yeah. Oh my God, that was quick. Give him a chance. My goodness. Close your eyes though. All right, you do it. And then you do it. Yeah. No, you close your eyes. I'm not going to close. All right. Obviously, I can't do it. So, all right. So, you guys guide him now. Tell him where to go. Go.
Go straight. No,
Alright, that's enough. Give me a hand. Woo! We're not supposed to go that way. So in the three scenarios, which one was the easiest? The first one. Which one was the hardest? The third. Why? Because there was a lot of like things in the middle, right?
No, it's because
Because there was a lot in the middle. But if we, in the second scenario, if there was a lot of stuff in the middle, you think you could have made it on your own?
No.
No. Right? On the second one, on the second try, right? On the second try was where he just he closed his eyes, but he knew where he was going. But now when there were things in front of you, you think you could have done that if nobody guided you? You want to do it again? Let me see how that works out. You want to see it? Yeah. All right, let's do it again. No help. All right, go ahead.
I need to concentrate.
Alright, so you guys get the idea of the experiment. Now, in this case, he knew exactly what was waiting for him, clearly, so he knew what to expect. But if we really put the obstacles there in the beginning, right, you would have failed, and I would have laughed. But the point is, the second time when the obstacles were there, because people were guiding you left and right, you were able to hear them and kind of go in the direction that you knew was safe. But if there was nothing there and you were just going, what would have happened? What would happen? You would have fouled. And we would have laughed. I would have enjoyed that. I felt bad, but I should have done that in the first scenario. Now here's the thing, guys. Are you guys with me? Guys, God gave us eyes, right? He gave us ears. But then, as the Bible tells us, because of the sins that we commit, our eyes are not able to work correctly. When we live in this world, our eyes become infected with lust. Our eyes become infected with weakness. Our ears become infected with weakness. And instead of hearing the word of God, we begin to hear our own desires. Isn't that what Paul talks about? My flesh is always at fighting with my soul, because what my soul wants to do, my flesh hates. What my flesh wants to do, my soul hates. They're always at war with one another. So how can we trust our own body when it is our body that's pulling us towards sin? If we are the farmer, we are like a blind and deaf man walking through the field, expecting to bear fruits. Can that happen? No. In Christianity, we can fool ourselves it's very easy to fool yourself. Very easy to fool yourself. There's two types of ways you can live a life of a Christian life. Number one, there's two type of ways you can live your Christian life. Number one, you can live your life pretending. Pretending means that we talk about this all the time. You come to church, you put on your letala, you live your life, you put on a smile, you show everybody that you've done a check mark, right? You bow down when others bow down, you open up your Bible when others open up your Bible, you do everything, but really inside you feel nothing, right? And maybe at first, when we first come into the church, it's like this rush of emotions rather than the actual spiritual experience. This is why we say, "I'm this Christian." A new Christian is bigger than a bishop. What it means is, like a bishop, you expect him to pray 24/7 and all this, right? And you fast all the time. Then you see a new Christian, he will do things more than a bishop. The idea is, when a new Christian comes to the church, because Most of them are running on emotions rather than spiritual, like spirituality. What happens is they're gonna read the Bible like back and forth all day, every day. Go to every single church service. Do every single day. Fast like 50 fasts. They'll make up their own. You know what I mean? They'll make today is Tuesday, I'll fast. You know what I mean? I got my test score back, I'll fast. So for every single situation, prayer, fasting, siddur, prostration, whatever it takes. Why? Because they're new. This is based on emotions. But once that starts to dry out, the real you begins. And then that's when you see what kind of soil you have. What kind of fruits have you been able to produce? That is the time to really look at yourself in the mirror and question, wait a minute, who am I? And over the years, you will begin to digress. And over the years, you'll start to slow down and become dry. And then you'll just go to the church for the sake of going. Why? Because it's something you do on Sundays. But nothing inside is really there. And you have a hard time even remembering what it felt like to be with God. Which soil are we? What kind of fruits have we produced? That is the question that we have to ask. If the farmer cannot produce fruits if he's blind and deaf, then how do we expect to do the same thing? We've got to rely on the voice of God to tell us which direction to go. If he says left, we go left. If he says right, we go right. But if we think we can do it on our own, then we're mistaken. Let's read the next part of the paragraph. Matthew chapter 13, verse 10 through 13. And take notes. Take notes. What are some of the things that you guys have read? When I say key points, just tell me what you read. Not like the meaning of what you read or anything like that. Yes, sir.
The disciples asked Christ why he teaches to others in parables. And then Christ replies saying the secrets that the knowledge of the secrets of the kingdom of heaven has been given to you guys.
Oh, you took the whole thing. So you do one thing.
Given to you
Go on, keep going.
I don't know.
Right. So, first of all, it explains why he's teaching the parables. Can we guess why he's teaching parables?
Because they don't understand.
What else?
Their hearts aren't ready. They're not receptive.
Not really, but there is another point. Along with what you said, by the way, this is what penning is, right? So it's a style of writing, even in like poetic way. Like if I say something like dry, like I hate you versus oh my blood boils every second that you remember that more. You know what I mean? So the idea is parables. Number one, again, they relate with it better. Number two, it's more of a poetic way to make them remember what's happening, right? So it makes your mind wonder, like, what the soil, farmers, like, what's going on? So the more you think about it, the more you remember. But there's something more happening that I want to talk about here. And it begins on Matthew chapter 13, verse 1. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, could you describe the name again?
It's just a metaphorical way of saying something that gives it more depth. So the more you think about it, it makes your heart like really be happy, right? So that's what the book of Psalms is talking about. Like, by this, or something like with you Anyway, it says poetry. I will bless your name or something to that effect. So every single time you come up with a new one, it makes you think about God even more, right? So I mean, we can have a class on coming. Y'all want to do that? All right. So Matthew chapter 13, verse 1. So the thing that I was saying, it's like the Bible, remember in the last class, Gospel of Matthew, chapter 9, verse through 12, right? Each word has a meaning. We're going to go back and look at it. On the same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea. And this is kind of why I don't like this one. It says, went out of his house. That's the actual translation. But okay, went out of the house and sat by the sea. What do you guys think that's talking about? Why is that significant? Why start this parable this way? Think about who is doing what and where and when. And why? And how. Remember what and the where, especially. Yes, sir.
Is this when, like the apostles and Jesus were on the sea and they were trying to fish and they were sleeping?
No, this is different. This is very different. That's not in the parable, but yeah. You guys don't see it? Yes, ma'am. This is come on. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's not an answer to your question.
Oh, I was so excited.
Good soil.
Huh? Okay, he's looking for a good soil. And then he sat on a boat. So on the same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the sea. On great multitudes were gathered together to him, so that he got into a boat and sat, and the whole multitude stood on the shore. Yes, ma'am. I'm waiting. Okay.
Remember, you told us one time when we were studying Matthew, he went into it, he was teaching,
Right.
and then,
It's fine. So here's the thing. Remind me, what is Trinity again? Say the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. The Father is the heart. The Son is the Word. Holy Spirit is breath, life. Right. So understand what's happening here. Jesus, who is the Word, is leaving his house to go preach the Word of God. Jesus, who is the Word, is leaving his house. No, just the house. You try again. We didn't get it right. I promise. We're gonna get this right. I promise. All right. Jesus, who is leaving his house to preach the word of God, the Father, right? He is the word. The word comes from the Father. And he's preaching the word of God. Now, here's the point that I want to make. Notice the parable is a farmer who is going around with the seed. Obviously, the seed is the word of God. You guys understand, right? And he's scattering it at the soil, at the heart, so that somebody will find it. Now, the word, Jesus, is leaving his home to spread the word of God. At the same time, Jesus is the one who left his home in the kingdom of heaven to come here to preach salvation, to find somebody who would listen. And now he is the one, again, leaving his home into the world to preach, hoping someone would listen. Now, where does he go? And where does he sit? On a lake, right? And he sits on a boat. What do you think this is about? Yes, but why? Okay, nobody read. What do you think that's about?
They made so
Oh, no.
He's like, shut up.
Water.
We did church.
I really took road.
No, so you. Straight water.
The relationship of the water in the boat, not of the water in the sea, but the water in the boat. Why is he sitting on a boat? Symbolism. Any. He could be visible to the others. He could be visible to the others, not correct. Apologize. I had to do it. Alright, what else? What else? Think. Like, you gotta think. What does the boat symbolize? The church. Why? Okay, let's take it one step lower. In the Old Testament, what were symbolisms of the church?
the tablets represented God.
So in the story about water, what has a ship symbolized the ship? Why was the Noah Ark symbolizing the church? I mean, tell me, like, talk to me, like, say how?
It was the world that was being destroyed, and if you were there, it was protected.
Perfect, right? Perfect. So that's one of the ways. Now, understand, what is Jesus doing right now? He's telling a parable. Is parable hard to understand? Yes, he is saying, unless you get on this boat with me, you cannot go into the area, like you can't cross the river without getting on a boat. You can't cross this parable unless you get on this boat with me. Do you understand what I'm saying? No? Understand what is buried inside of the book. Like that's why when you read the Bible, first time, read it to understand the story. What is it talking about? Who did what? When did what happen? The second time you read it, really look at the message behind it. This is why we say this is inspired by the Holy Spirit, right? What is it? 1 Timothy. So it's inspired by the Holy Spirit because inside of it there's a lot more things going on than what our eyes sees, and there's a lot more message. Each and every single thing has a meaning behind it. Now, unless I'm on a boat, I can't cross the river, right? So Jesus sitting on a boat symbolized that unless you get into the boat, you can't cross the parable. And other means the boat is symbolizing what? The church. Unless you go to the church and listen to my voice, you cannot cross this parable. You will never understand this parable. You guys understand? Yes? Yes? So let's keep going. Jesus, the word, leaves his home to preach the world, looking for good soil. Just like he came to this world hoping to save someone who's willing to be saved. Now, we know how the story ends. He defeats death. And he gave us the gift of salvation. Here's the thing, and I know I'm going off track, but here's the thing that really bothers me, even when I think about my life. So the gift, it's a gift. You guys know what a gift is, right? What's a gift?
Something you get from someone. Something you give to someone to show.
There's a word that you're missing. Free. That's the thing. So like, you know, like we talk about graduation, for example, or birthday presents. It's not a present. The present's my birthday. You see what I'm saying? So you give it to me. I'm expecting it. A gift is you've done nothing. It's not a reward. You've done nothing to expect it, to earn it. Out of my own free will, I'm giving it to you, even though you may not expect it, even though you may not need it. Salvation is needed. You know what's expected of us? To claim it. To claim that gift. To claim the salvation. And yet, we have a hard time claiming our salvation. To claim our salvation, thank him. To claim your salvation, praise him. To claim your salvation, just be a servant. And yet we can't claim it. The free gift that he's given us. The gift that he's given us through his own blood. And that is really something interesting to think about. And I know I'm going off topic, but I just had to say that. So he sits on a boat and teaches. Again, he's saying unless you come to the church, you will not be able to understand the parables that I'm about to speak of. And this is where you know exactly why he's saying this. The disciples are permitted to understand because they have approached the boat. Notice, I thought everybody was going to start asking questions about that. Why are they the ones who are permitted? I just said it. They're listening. If you see, the word listen is repeated throughout, like the first 13 verses. Listen, listen. Those who have ears will listen. If those who have ears will not listen, those who have eyes we're not going to be able to see. But your ears are blessed, so you would listen. Again, this word is repeated over and over and over again because Christ knows at the end of the day there are going to be people who are not going to be willing to listen. And because people will not listen, will not understand this parable, and because they cannot understand the parable, they'll never bear fruits. They'll be like that farmer who is blind and deaf, and all day he's trying to get food, but he's unsuccessful. Why? Because he can't listen. Why? Because he can't see, even though Christ is guiding us. Now it is up to us to say, wait a minute, I don't know what I'm doing. And it's okay to say, you know what, I have no idea, and that's what you're expected to do. You are expected to say, I have no idea how to lead my spiritual life. I have no idea how to tackle this. I have no idea how to pray. I have no idea how to fast. I have no idea how to read my Bible. That's what you're expected to do. The problem begins when you think you know how to do it. The problem begins when you close your heart and you close your ears and you stop listening to God and you stop allowing him to guide you. That's when you will never be able to bear fruits. Again, let's do the exercise. So what are some things that prevent us from getting closer to the church? So we said it is within the church that we can hear the word of God, right? But what prevents us from coming up to him and saying, we don't know? Write some stuff down. Again, you don't have to share it with everybody. Just write some stuff down. It's nice. The advice of Jesus, you'll never see fruits. I'll repeat that. If we never get close enough to listen to the advice of Jesus, we'll never see fruits. Within this room, some of you guys have been going to church for a long time. Some of you guys have just started going out, like coming, which is good. I can say that having been going to church for a long time, I guarantee you there will be days where you don't want to see a church at all. There will be a day that you feel like you don't want to open up your Bible. There will be days where like prayer, like you don't want to talk about prayer, you don't want to do anything, you want to do whatever you can to avoid it. You will hit that spot. You know, the Coptics, and I've shared my experience all the time of where numerous accounts where I promised and I swore before God I would never step in a church again, an Ethiopian Orthodox church again. I've sworn multiple times. I'm still here, but I don't know why. But you know, I've read a few like Coptic writings where it talks about if you never feel that way, where you want to quit, you're not serving the correct way. If you never get to the point where you feel like you want to just stop, where you just want to quit, where you just want to say, that's it, I'm done. If you never get to that point, you're not serving the right way. Because you're not challenging yourself. Like working out. I may not be a good example of working out, but I heard when you work out, if you want the big muscles, you gotta push yourself. So the same thing, when you come, I promise, there will be a day where you wake up and say, today is not like I don't want to go to church. Maybe it's because you overslept. Maybe it's because you're tired. Maybe it's because you have a lot on your plate. Or maybe it's because really you have nothing inside of you anymore. No more spirituality, no more hope, no more anything. that day will come. Here's the thing. If you stop coming, you will not hear the voice of God. If you've decided that you don't want any fruits, that's a different story. That's a different story. But if you're still seeking for fruits, and you say, I'm not going to come, I guarantee you will not have fruits. The first thing you have to do, regardless of how you feel, just drive and come to church. Regardless of how you feel. It doesn't matter what you did the night before. It doesn't matter what you did that morning. It doesn't matter what you're feeling, how you're thinking, your mind is not in the right place. If you're serious about your fruits, come to church. That is the first step. That is the first step. If we can't do that, then nothing else will change. I don't know if I told this story in this class, but there was an incident in Ethiopia, and this is a true story. Maybe some of you guys have heard of it, of a guy, and I'm sure you've heard of it, of a guy who's going to the church to steal shoes. Like, this is in Ethiopia, you know what I'm saying? You heard of it? Yeah, I'm sure most of you guys have, right? So,
I just came by with
it didn't happen like last week, it happened a while back. So this guy, he went to church to steal shoes. That's why he was going there. And then when he was about to steal, I don't know, like something happened and then he thought he was about to get caught. So he ended up like sitting in there and pretending like he was part of this service that was happening. And then, he got closer and closer to the shoes where he was about to steal it. And then suddenly, like, because he couldn't really get out that quickly, he started listening to the sermon, which was about forgiveness. How much God forgives us if we just say, I'm sorry. So he hears the sermon, he's changed, and he goes up and he gives testimony. I came here to steal shoes. I hear the shoes. But here I am leaving with a changed heart. I can tell you multiple stories like this where I know, a friend or whatever, who went to church specifically, for a girl, and then he stayed there. He became a deacon, became a priest, a family friend rather, and then he died as a priest. But the initial reason why he was going there was to get a girl, trying to get her attention, right? So I'm not saying come to church to get a girl. What I'm saying is come to church. Just come. You don't know what you will hear. Sometimes there's been days where I don't feel like praying and doing all that stuff, and I come and then I talk to somebody and then just conversations happen and you learn something. Like you grab something. You don't know where it's going to come from. Challenge yourself. Which brings me to my second point, and I'll end here. Whenever you come, and whenever you have the ability to learn about God, open up your heart and get ready to learn. Right? Like, we have a problem where we think like we know stuff. And I'm telling you, the minute you feel like you know something, that's when you failed. Right? Again, the story of that saint who's fighting with the devil. We've talked about this before, right? Where he was battling with the devil, with the demons surrounding him. And then he was like a saint. So the devil came and said, oh, you beat me, you're a saint. And he said, no, I haven't defeated you yet. And then you guys know the story, right? And then what happened? And then he dies. So when he dies, he goes to his soul and he's like, all right, now you've defeated me. He's like, not yet. On the kingdom of heaven, he's going there. He says, you defeated me. Like, no, I haven't. He gets inside and says, now I have defeated you. You see? So up until the last second, he was saying, I didn't win. I don't know anything. I have nothing. And the minute, every single time we come to the church, if we feel like we know something, then we've missed it. I cannot tell you the number of times that I read the book of Genesis, chapter 1, the first verse. And I said, when was that word in there? When was this in there? We've read it so many times, and you read it again, you're like, wait a minute. Like, when did this happen? Me and Alpha, we always talk. We always telling you, this story? Oh, yeah. And then this happened. Oh, I didn't know that happened. Oh, yeah, this happened. The stories that we grew up learning about, it could be a story about Moses. right? Stuff that we already know. Do not ever feel like you know something. When you come to this class, I don't care how many times, like this is a known parable. Most of you guys probably heard of it, but that doesn't matter, right? Whether you read it at home, whether you read a sermon about it, really come and challenge yourself to learn something. And challenge yourself every single time. What did I learn? I don't want to say names, but see you. There's been so many times where I have personally, like when he started out teaching, I've given him a lesson plan. I've told him what to say, how to say it. And when he says it, I'm like, I didn't know that. Right? And it takes you away. Why? Because every single time when he's talking, it's not him talking, but God. Every single time we're in here, it's not like an individual speaking. God is really talking to us. So it doesn't matter what the words are. If you really open up your heart, you'll be surprised what God has to teach you. You got to allow that heart to be softened, so it could be the soil of part 4. And we haven't even gotten into the meaning and the parable of the meanings. This is the opening. We're going to take several weeks. We're going to talk about every single one of them. And that's what's going to happen. I promise to talk less and less and less and less. The more you guys do it, the more that this class will be successful. There's reflections again. And there's a reading accompanied by it. Acts chapter 9, verse 1 through 19. Why do you think God spoke to Saul? Who's Saul? Paul. If you had been Saul at the time, what would you have said or done? Like, remember, when you guys are reading the Bible, right? Try to read it as if you're there, right? Like, here's, I'm going to tell you guys a story. Saul on the way to Damascus, what happens? He hears the voice of God. So when you're reading that, like really put the Bible down, imagine yourself on the way to Shoppers, and then you're like, oh my goodness, God, right? So think about that. Like take a minute. And that's when like things start like really getting in. But if you're just reading it, like sometimes we read the story of Moses and all that, right? And then they cross the Red Sea, and we're like, okay, and then what happened? No, wait a minute. They crossed the Red Sea. This is huge. Right? So, like, you've got to take the time to really understand, hey, what's happening at this moment? What would I do if I was there? Like, the water is here, and you're walking around like, oh my gosh, like you've got to put yourself in that situation and really try to understand, like, whoa, like, this actually happened. It's not just a fairy tale, right? So, take a minute to really do the reflections, do your homeworks. You guys are big boys and girls, so do it. If you don't, it's on you, but like it's gonna help you out. We're not gonna check it. We're not gonna ask people to turn it in because I think a lot of people didn't like that idea last class.
Are we gonna have a discussion? Discussion about it or?
No. Do you guys want to have discussions on it?
Yeah.
Really? You guys want to have same format? 3 weeks lecture, 1 week discussion? Same format?
Yeah.
3 weeks lecture, 1 week.
Alright, we can do that. But, again, last time, right, nobody was doing the reflections. And not only that people were not doing the reflections, on the day of discussions, people weren't coming. Right? So what would happen is, people would be like, hey, you want a class today? Is today discussion? Yeah, then no. I mean, that's what's happening. Like, don't look at me. I didn't say it. You know what I mean? Talk to each other. So if you guys are serious, let's take it seriously. Like we're here. Like, this is time that we've called God's name, and God is looking at us, and all the angels are like paying attention right now. You know what I mean? So let's remember that. So if we've said His name, and then let's take it seriously. There's a time for everything. So if we're going to do it, let's do it for real. But I don't want to just have like a discussion for the sake of saying we had a discussion. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Next time I'm gonna bring the heater. What is that?